Call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Ooh.
That's loud.
Barker,
Here.
McCain,
Here.
Wertz,
Here.
Hyen, Johnson, Rust,
Here.
Hanfelder,
Here.
Trent.
Here. It's time for public comment. Do we have anyone wishing to comment?
I've received no inquiries and I don't see anyone's hand raised.
Thank you. Move on to updates. Budget health update.
Mary Schulte will deliver that,
Mary?
sir. Yes, thank you.
As we continue to wrap up fiscal year 22, as expected, we'll be ending on a very strong note. Our revenues were greater than projected overall, particularly in the area of corporate personal property tax, where monies received exceeded $2.1 million over budget and over double the state's post-budget estimate. The last payment for fiscal year 2022 was received last month, and it was almost $525,000. This year, we also transferred accumulated working cash interest into our operating funds, which significantly increased our revenues there. And there are still transfers, such as this one, to be posted for 2022, as well as HERF lost revenue, which amounted to over $1.7 million to the operating funds last year. Fiscal year 22 numbers will be less, as it will be exclusively for fiscal year 22, where last year was for the last half of 20 and 21, and our average on which these calculations are performed will decrease. So while many revenues were greater than anticipated, expenses are also projected to be considerably less than budgeted. And as we've discussed in prior months, reasons for this include the job market and the postings that we've had unfilled for longer than the norm. And we've had numerous job openings throughout the year, and we've had conservative and conscientious spending with all of our team members. So when fiscal year 22 officially comes to a close, I expect a very positive year.
Thank you, Mary.
And called it corporate property tax.
Yeah,
That's a replacement tax or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just based on corporate profits, right? That's why they can't really estimate what it's going to be.
Right. They are required to give us an estimate, and as of yesterday, we still do not have the fiscal year 23 estimate. But as you can tell, their estimates were way off as well. We've never had a year like this. There's a lot of, we've never had this happen before. But we've never had this happen before. Kevin, that was it. Okay, awesome. Any other questions? Thank you.
Enrollment update.
Tim Bell.
Heather, good evening. I appreciate the Zoom opportunity. It's been kind of a hectic week for me and my family. As you see in your information, that this Monday our head count was down 2.6%. Our credit hours were down 1.4%. But that does indicate an increase over last week, which was 4.3% down head count and 1.6% down credit hours. So there is an upswing there, which is encouraging. Another encouraging stat is that full-time students are actually up slightly. Other encouraging things are that the concurrent enrollment agreement we have with Edwardsville High School, we haven't enrolled those students yet. That should be coming in the next week or two. There will be 37 students, 25 welding students going to the Godfrey campus, and 12 intro to industrial technology students that will be taking their classes at the Fab Lab at the NL Nelson campus. So 37 students total, a total of 198 credit hours we're going to be adding as well in the fall. And they will be back in the spring. And it's very encouraging too, because I feel like this is a springboard for not only Edwardsville High to do some more concurrent enrollment, but other high schools that are interested in doing this as well. And I really want to recognize the entire enrollment center staff, the entire enrollment staff who have been very busy, which is also an encouraging sign. We were shorthanded down there. I haven't been around, so I just wanted them to know I appreciate all their hard work, and another couple weeks of really busy times. Thursday night, we're going to have a new student orientation. Well, we'll also have some, enrollment opportunities for returning students that evening too. So thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Tim.
Tim, this is Julie. On the Edwardsville thing, is that something new that we've never done before?
It is. And high schools are struggling to find.
Just explain it a little bit.
Sure.
I'm sorry, just explain it a little bit.
Yeah. So high school, Edwardsville High especially, are I guess struggling to find some CTE type instructors. Some schools send their students for those kind of courses to Collinsville Vocational Center. So it's really a win-win for schools in our district to send them here. It is a little cheaper tuition actually than going down there. So it's been in the works for a while. I've wanted to start doing this for a while now, and it's finally steamrolled ahead, and hopefully we can add more schools, and so it's new and hopefully growing.
And the other piece to add in there, Julie, is, if you hear me, is concurrent enrolled students are enrolled in actual courses at Lewis and Clark, so they're different than our dual credit courses. So there's a tuition factor. The other schools that are interested in, we're beginning to shape this, is both Jerseyville and Bethalto. The rural schools, we continue to sort of struggle with that bridge because they're so far that they can't necessarily get to Lewis and Clark. So we're looking at some options there as well. And one of those options continues to be the BlendFlex platform, where students could be concurrently enrolled in, say, an English class or in a lecture with Travis Jumper in welding, for example, while they're at Staunton or Whitehall or Carrollton. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there as well to bring those students to our campus. That also helps us with our on-campus enrollment. So I think that, coupled with the liaison program that we have now, those both are very, very, I think, positive, but also lend some tremendous potential for our growth within our region. So essentially, we're tapping into those students that are graduating, that want to come to college, but that we haven't necessarily done before, especially in the context of, the population and what's happening with our population across the region. So hopefully that helps. Thank you again, Tim.
Okay, one more question. Well, a couple more. So this
Sure.
program is a little different in that they're starting a college program, whereas in high school partnership, they're taking classes that can transfer to or that are
Right.
considered college credit. But this is different in that you're starting them on their way down a path, and so hopefully this is different in that they'll continue to go to Lewis and Clark and not just transfer these credits to a university or something like that, right?
Absolutely. That's a great point. And actually the students in welding at the end of the spring semester will be able to get a certificate while they're still in high school. And hopefully, like you mentioned, we'll continue here. I mean, you have a certificate, why don't you just stay with us? They'll be able to see our wonderful facility, be taught by Travis Jumper, and the other great faculty in the welding department. And yeah, you make a great point. It's a great thing, and it's concurrent
Okay,
enrollment, so it's full tuition. It's not and our instructor. So yeah.
okay, and then final thing is, we are, I hope, working with Metro East Lutheran and Father McGivney, right? Or do they know about all these things, or what's the effort there?
We'll certainly reach out. The one issue with Father McGivney is they are really out, not in our district. They're in Swick's district. They're literally across the street. Uh,
Okay,
so, but there are some recruiting opportunities there because there's some students there that live in our district. It's just when we talk about those kind of things, that school is out. But yes, you know, we have a relationship with Metro East Lutheran, dual credit, and they do some concurrent enrollment as well. They've already asked me actually this week about taking some math online concurrently. So yeah, there's opportunity there as well.
okay, good, because I know those parochial schools, you know, don't have the resources always to, you know, or the number of students to get a teacher, you know, to teach a whole specialized class. So that's where I think Lewis and Clark could step in and say, hey, they could come to, you know, this specialized class we're having over here at N.O. Nelson with, you know, Edwardsville High School students or whatever. So it sounds like you're
Absolutely.
thinking about that already.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions or comments? If not, we move on to the Omnibus Agenda, and any board member wishing to pull any item may do so now.
Yes, I'd like to pull item P as in Paul and consider it separately.
Any other items you want to consider separately? Need a motion to approve the Omnibus Agenda excluding P.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Roll.
Yep.
Okay. Barker,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Hyen,
Yes?
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
McCain.
yes,
Okay, passed. Item P.
Motion.
Need a second? Oh, did you do a second? Okay. I didn't hear anyone. Okay. Okay, discussion.
Well, I have two concepts here. The first thing I'd like to discuss is kind of like from a general standpoint. We really don't have any, and correct me if I'm wrong, whoever might be able to correct me. We don't really have like a budget or a guideline on these sorts of trips. I don't believe. And when I saw this, it just kind of made me curious to go back and see what sort of trips we've approved over the past 12 months or so. Back in May, we approved an ICCTA trip to Chicago for almost $2,000. And back in April, we approved an iGen conference in Normal, Illinois for not quite $500. And you see back in February, there was an ICCTA gathering up in Champaign. That was about $350, and then that was actually done in January. Then in February, there was a travel to the ACCT National in Washington, D.C., a national conference of some sort. That was like $1,300 that was approved. Then back in November, There was another ICCTA trip to Schaumburg for almost $700. And back in October, there was another ACC trip, this one to San Diego. The total there was little over $800. In September, there was a trip to the ICCTA meeting in Springfield, and that was $350. And then also in September, there was and I'm not sure what this trip is for. It doesn't have an explanation. It was a trip to Chicago, to the Kimpton Hotel. That was the biggest expense. Total was about $850 expense for a Chicago trip. And then, so I totaled those up, and these are just some of and not all of the out-of-town trips, but most of the out-of-town trips that total up to about $11,000. And I'm just a little concerned that we're maybe kind of not really having a very good control over this, all of this travel. I mean, we obviously need Dr. Tresca to be focused here at Lewis and Clark, and maybe that's getting out of hand. Specifically on this particular trip, once again to the Association of Community College Trustees, and I would emphasize that's trustees. The ACCT is actually mainly for the trustees.
It's for the trustees and the presidents, and I invited the presidents.
I'm sorry, I'm not done yet. I wasn't done yet,
Okay.
Dr. Trask.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, cut out there. So.
Yeah, you'll get your chance to respond. So I went on the website, and specifically on this particular trip, it says the ACCT Leadership Congress is the premier annual conference for community college leaders and the only national conference dedicated to community college trustees. I would love to go to this conference in New York City. It sounds like could be a good time, but I would be kind of embarrassed to even ask the trustees to approve something like that. So I won't be voting in favor of this $4,300 for this trip.
So can I respond? Hello?
You're up.
Can you all hear me okay? Okay.
Yes.
So the ACCT conference is probably attended by 3,000 or 4,000 trustees and presidents from across the country annually. I've gone to that conference for 6 or 7 years. It's an amazing conference of networking, of learning about best practices across the country for both trustees and presidents. Yes, so it's an investment in the president and trustee process and relationship. So last year it was in San Diego. If you remember, I also piggybacked several alumni events onto that trip, which the foundation offset the cost of that trip because of that. The Illinois Community College Trustee Association trips are with the president groups. And so, those trips started up last year because of COVID again. And that was an opportunity and continue to be opportunities for our presidents to come together for those quarterly retreats and meetings. And I believe you attend those as well, sir. The one in Schaumburg, you were there with me. So the meetings, there were a couple of intermittent meetings to Chicago, those related to the main complex and helping lobby for that money that we got for the main complex. Those trips, were always piggyback with other things. So, it may have been meeting with other colleges, but also meeting with those legislators. And I think what was the other one that you mentioned? I think ICCTA meetings, which are all president meetings. So if I don't go to that, I'll be, one of a handful of presidents that don't attend president meetings at the state level. I think the important part of this travel is building and connecting with our colleagues across the state, building those relationships. and trying to find ways in which we can work better together and understand how we can continue to grow education in Illinois. So, I mean, I'll be frank, I'm a bit disheartened with the scrutiny of this travel, because it's an important investment in the institution and in my ability to build these relationships both at a national level and a local and regional and state level. So I mean, I'm not going to defend the travel. I believe it's part of the investment. I think if we call any community college in the state, I believe the community colleges invest in president and administrative travel, as well as team member travel to conferences and to events and programs that support their development. This is all, yeah. So, but I respect your opinion, as you know, and whatever you choose to do is respected by me, sir. But I'm happy to discuss any of these at another time as well. So ICCTA, ACCT is, I guess I'm surprised to hear that, but and the NLS in February is the National Legislative Summit for community colleges in DC. It's an opportunity to meet with legislators, and also an opportunity to work on legislative initiatives at the national level with our colleagues in DC. So that's a very important one as well. So, and those I think are the only two that I've attended since I've been here at Lewis and Clark. So yeah.
Any other comments from any of the trustees about travel? I think I tend to agree with Mr. Russ that probably we should budget these and pick and choose as what's good for the college. But any other comments?
I think it's a networking event, and we hired the president to get out and meet other people and network, and I think this is a cost of doing business. Run a national company, and we spend a lot of money in travel, and we have to stay up on what current events and learn about new things to bring back to our business, and I think this qualifies for one of those events.
Is there a budget for this? Yeah, where is it? Probably like
Sure.
institutional something?
It's in the president's budget. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, please go ahead, Mary. You can.
The president has a budget just like the other departments do for things like supplies and travel.
Okay.
And I would expect that he would stay within his budget, just as any other department would be expected to do.
And frankly, I'm totally fine of removing the item from the agenda and not attending that conference this year. I'm completely okay with that, and absolutely no hard feelings. So, thank you.
I didn't understand you.
I said I'm okay removing that item, sir, and not attending the American Association of Community College Trustees conference this year. Thank you.
And we have a motion on the floor to vote on, so I have to call for the vote.
I just wanted to add that this one kind of stands out because of the cost to me. I mean, it's pretty significant, and that is alarming, but you have to take into consideration the spiraling inflation, the cost of air travel, and especially hotels in New York. I mean, that's crazy. So it is, that figure is kind of alarming, but at the same time, you got to consider the other parts of it. And I think learning about best practices is really important. And as long as it's within the budget that he has, then I'm in favor of it.
And if the board approves it, it doesn't mean I have to go. And most of the time when these proposals are brought forward, they're ballpark figures. And I believe, and I'm comfortable saying this on the record, I believe every trip that has been approved, I've been under budget of what the board has approved. I'm very aware of that, and I take this seriously. So it's, try to find the cheapest hotel, stay out of the city, you do what you can, but this is what the worst case scenario could be, but it's likely going to be much, much less than that. In addition to that, I hope to be able to tag on a couple of perhaps alumni events where I can host some alumni to help offset the cost. So I'm always thinking about that. So trying to build those relationships while also trying to do some good work for the college through this program. So, but either way, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Any other comments? Call for the vote.
Barker,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Trent. McCain,
yes,
Hyen,
No.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
No.
Hanfelder,
Abstain.
Okay, motion passed. Okay, we move on to action items. Proposed amendment to Board Policy 207, pages 125 and 126. Motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Barker,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Trent. McCain,
yes,
Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Need a motion for B, renewal of a project labor agreement with Southwestern Illinois Building and Construction Trade Council.
Motion.
Second? Need a second? Okay. Any discussion? Call for the vote?
Barker,
Yes.
Wertz.
Yes.
Trent. McCain,
yes,
Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder.
Yes.
Item C, memorandum of agreement, Illinois Network of Child Care. Need a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote?
Barker,
Yes.
Wertz.
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Trent. McCain,
yes,
Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Item D, organizational restructure and departmental change. Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second? Any discussion?
Yes, I just had a kind of, I guess, a question about this. Did Allied come to us and say that they were not going to be able to perform on this contract? Or, I mean, kind of give us some background about what led up to this change. I mean, they have 2 more years of their obligation.
They, when we bid it for 3 years plus 2 additional option years. And so we can either choose to exercise those optional years or go back out to bid. The challenges that we're having right now, since we've bid this contract, we've had the increase in minimum wage that's driving down our candidate pool, and the labor market is just creating a very underqualified and smaller applicant pool. So what we would like to do is work with our legal counsel to structure a new RFP that will help us attract the right candidates so that we can retain them. We're experiencing a turnover in our security staff personnel that we just haven't seen before.
So we're not letting Allied out of their obligation. It was like it was kind of open, it was kind of opening up again.
Right, we're just not exercising. What we would propose is not to exercise the last 2 optional years so that we can ensure a safe campus and a strong labor force, so.
Any other comments? Call for the vote?
Barker,
Yes.
Wertz.
Yes.
Trent. McCain,
yes,
Hyen,
Yes?
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder.
Yes.
Resolution 2303, reduction in force. Motion to approve?
Motion. Yeah, I just had really don't have any problem with a motion as is, but it just made me wonder, what about the other 2 people or so that are at East St. Louis? Levisi Carter and,
Levisi Carter got a job at Washington University, and our other team member transferred over to internally on the enrollment management team. This was about 6 months ago. We had an opening there, sir. We anticipated this was going to happen with East St. Louis, so we didn't fill that position over at East St. Louis. That's why there's only Levisi there. So when the team member transferred over, and her name escapes me, I forgive me, but Tim or Lori, do you know who that was? Yes,
Jackie.
Jackie, thank you. Yes, geez. Yeah, so Jackie had applied for a job over on the main campus, sir. We didn't fill her position. So the only 2 team members were Levisi and Dobby, and Levisi got another position off outside of the campus. So that's why.
Any other comments or questions? Call for the vote.
Barker,
yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Trent. McCain,
yes,
Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust.
Yes.
Okay, informational items. Anyone
The,
like to present on?
Yes, sir. The only one we have a formal presentation on is the Reconnect Summit. That'll be Maya and I believe Dobby. The others, if there are questions, I'm happy to answer those or have some team members available to answer any questions you may have on A through E. And and there is no LCFA update tonight, sir. So I'm happy to have Maya and or Dobby come up and present on the Reconnect Summit, which is an initiative we're working on through the DEI focus. So any questions on any of the other items? Thank you, Maya.
Oh, I did, a real quick question. I think it's probably a question for Sue.
Sure.
What's the status of our diesel technology? I know we got a grant and, you know, we're working in that direction, right? For
Yeah, we found, they've developed 3 courses, and they, sorry. I always think I have a good enough outside voice. They've developed 3 courses, and those courses have been offered so far. They're low enrollment, but we're hoping that they start to pick up. They are going to change when they're scheduled so that they align better with the rest of the automotive classes, and so that they can go from an automotive class and then pick those up. But I think we're in the 2nd or 3rd year of that grant, and we've gotten equipment and training and then developed these courses. So it's a small certificate, and we're hoping if we get enough interest to then build more classes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so this fall we are having our first Reconnect Summit. It is a 4-session DEI series that we're going to do. It's basically to encourage kind of our DEI platform and to really kind of dig into our new culture of transparency that we're working to have. So we're going to, the first session will include topics on DEI at Lewis and Clark, and what we need to do to have more DEI and how to better integrate it into what we're doing in our everyday, you know, day-to-day things that we do here. So basically it aligns with our core values and our strategic plan, and it supports KD3 and KD4. And for the first session, there will be specific invitations going out to people. You all will receive your invitations as well. And we will have someone who will facilitate this. She's a local DEI person, but also she's like a consultant that does this across the board. Her name is Anya Covington. She works with Human the Human, which is in Edwardsville. Ideally, it will start in September, and then it'll be September, October, November, and January. And the goal or the outcome of this is to just make sure that as we're starting to catapult DEI here at Lewis and Clark, we all are on the same page. Anyone who's coming to this is encouraged to come with an open mind and open to new ideas and have uncomfortable conversations, because that's what the space will provide. It's the space to talk about the things that we don't usually talk about, but that we need to talk about. And then to take this information and use it in what we do in our day-to-day. So that's the overall of the conference. Do you have any questions about that?
Will we be getting an email that's kind of laying that out and inviting us, I guess, or?
Yes, so you all will receive invitations via email with an outline of the day and what we're doing. And then if you can come, great. If not, you can come to the second or third or fourth session. Each session will go more in depth on the topics that we're continuing to talk about. The first session will be roughly 3 to 4 hours, and then each session after that will be like an hour and a half to 2 hours. I couldn't hear you, I'm sorry.
The invitations haven't gone out yet, have they?
Invitations have not gone out yet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the informational items, evidently. Leadership team reports.
Yes, sir.
Do we have anything?
Yes, sir. We have Dr. Cedric Brown will give a brief update on athletics. He's our new athletic director. So Dr. Brown, it's all you.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for the board, for your support. Thank you, Dr. Traska, for your support. And then a special thanks to Cody Zipman, who was our interim director of athletics as they were going through the search. And he did a remarkable job in filling that seat and making sure that athletics, was following its path, and that the student athletes hadn't lost anything along the way and into this new 2022-2023 season. The first week on the job was what I expected, fast-paced and high intensity. It's what it is in college athletics, and we hit the ground running with the team that they put together to put together our personnel, and we hired Alex Ferguson, our baseball coach, Justin Bernay, our women's soccer coach, John Dunn, our men's soccer coach. Kavon Lacey was kept on as our interim men's basketball coach, and then we're in the process of naming our volleyball, men's and women's tennis coach. So I'm very excited about that. And then talking with Dr. Traska about the culture of athletics and how it aligns with the culture of the campus. There's some excitement and a buzz going around right now about the campus. And I've been doing a lot of friend raising over the last week or so, making sure that I get around to my team members in their departments and talking with them and seeing how I can help them to help our student athletes to matriculate towards their degrees and any goals outside of Lewis and Clark Community College. I had an opportunity to meet with some community leaders this past Friday. A very warm welcome to myself and to what we're trying to do at Lewis and Clark Community College with our athletics program. Met a lot of characters, met some friends that I hope to have for a long period of time. And I really enjoyed that, and I felt like I was home again. Some of the areas of immediate attention that myself and our staff want to address are the academic success of our student athletes. As Dr. Trask and I will go over the athletic dashboard, and we will present that to you at a later time. There's some, some areas of challenges that we had, but there were some successes that we had as well, and we're proud of those. And then we'll raise individual. Our goal is to raise individual and team overall GPAs, and we're going to do that with the help of enrollment and athletic advising. And I met with those team members just yesterday. Fundraising efforts in collaboration with our Lewis and Clark Foundation, their team members, met with them today, and we're going to sit down and talk about some strategic planning on how we're going to meet some of the philanthropic goals that myself and our team are looking to do, and talking to our staff right now about some ideas for them to do some individual fundraising within their programs, and then myself getting out and meeting people, and again doing that fundraising before fundraising to get out and meet some of our financial goals. One of the third thing, and one of the most important things, as I met with some of our community leaders, is to rebuild and reorganize the Trailblazer Booster Club. Early on, I hear that in the 70s and the 80s that this booster club was robust, and it was very involved and engaged in what the Trailblazers were doing. And so I want to revisit that, and I want to get back to where that was, and get that community engagement and get that community involvement in what we're doing here on our campus. And then finally, want to lead this program to national recognition to help our terrific coaches and our dedicated student athletes to get the attention that they deserve. Again, if you've heard me speak before, as a competitor against Lewis and Clark back in the early 2000s, it was a terrible place to come into Godfrey to try to play. And that was the testament to the coaching staff, the athletic department, Mr. Terry, and all of those student athletes back then. And we want to get it back to there. We want to bring back that tradition of coming into Godfrey, Illinois, and leaving with your tail between your legs. And if we do that, that aligns with what Dr. Traska has sat down with me and talked about. And I've been fortunate and blessed enough to be a champion, in other places, and I expect that will happen here as well, and that we will have championships for our teams, and then we will have academic All-Americans and academic teams as well for our programs, and that will make our community and our board and our team members proud. So I look forward to meeting some of the other board members. I've met a couple on campus, and then met some in the community, but I look forward to meeting most of you in person, and hopefully it's at athletic events here in the near future. And so if you see me, come up to me and tap me on the back, shake my hand, and let's get to know one another. Thank you so much, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Cedric. Appreciate it. And welcome aboard again. Thank you. So I'll jump over to my update. It'll be quick, I promise. Just the biggest thing right now is we're focused on next week. Next week, all of our team members return to campus, including our faculty. So we have some in-service activities and events to welcome everyone back and get everyone ready for the start of classes on August 22nd. So really looking forward to that. So just appreciate everyone who's worked so hard over the summer to keep things moving. There's been a lot happening, especially around new hires and some of the reorg and focus work we've done. A couple of other things, and I mentioned this in both the all team update and then of course in the board update, is we have a couple of things happening on the academic side, which is The occupational therapy program, which is the big one, their occupational therapy assistant program, will have their accreditation visit on August 23rd and 24th. So that's a really big deal. So both Ashley Harris and Debbie Witzkin are leading the charge there. And several of us on campus at the administrative level will be involved in that from a discussion and interview process perspective. So just appreciate all the effort going into that. And then, you know, Cedric gave a great update here on athletics, but, you know, as he said, athletics really becomes an extension of our culture as a campus, and a campus becomes really an extension of the athletic culture and a connection into the community. So this also is an opportunity for us to look at growth opportunities. And Cedric knows what goals I've set out in terms of where I'd like to see athletics in the next couple of years. And I think with just the energy and focus we have, that we're definitely going to be getting there, likely sooner than later. A couple of other big things on the academic side is CBE and BlendFlex. I sent this out in our update to the board, kind of the evolution of BlendFlex at Lewis and Clark, the number of sections, and the continuous engagement and interest in BlendFlex. So I'm really excited, and hopefully you were impressed by the numbers, and I think the success that we're seeing in those sections. With competency-based education, we're going to be putting together a CBE action mover team. I've reached out to most of the individuals I'm inviting onto that team, but this is going to help us put a little bit more deliberate attention around that work. We have one more application we have to put through to the Higher Learning Commission for our second program. And then once that happens, we don't have to apply any longer. We're able to assess internally, make those judgments, and bring those new programs forward strategically as we see fit. Also working with faculty with the new teaching and engagement model, which was the side letter to our recently approved contract. Likely to have 5 to 7 faculty participating in TEM this year, and I'm beginning those one-on-one meetings with that group. And then ultimately that team will be meeting together at least once a month to share what's happening within their own programs, best practices, what's not working, et cetera. So lots of really good things happening on campus, but the big thing is getting everyone ready to rock and roll next week. And so I just appreciate everyone's support. Thank you to each of you as board members for your continued support and sort of advocacy for the collective work. So that concludes my update. And again, thank you everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, sir. This concludes our business. Meeting adjourned.